They told her to dream smaller, because girls from narrow lanes were not meant to rise, they were meant to survive. On the edge of the city of Brentwood, tucked inside a narrow, forgotten lane, lived a young girl named Lena Harper. Her home was barely a home at all, one small room, cracked walls stained by time, and a rusted roof that leaked whenever the rain decided to remind them of their place. At night, water dripped into metal bowls. By morning, the floor was dry again, and life continued. Her father worked as a night security guard, standing for hours under dim lights, protecting buildings that would never belong to him. Her mother stitched clothes for neighbors, fingers rough from years of pulling thread through fabric. Money was always short, and dreams, people said, were supposed to be shorter. Lena attended a government school where desks were broken, chalk was rationed, and textbooks were older than the students reading them. Many children dropped out earlier, some to work, some to marry, some simply because hope felt too expensive. But Lena loved books, not because they were clean or new. They weren't. She loved them because they opened doors. Inside those pages, she met scientists who failed before succeeding, leaders who rose from nothing, explorers who crossed oceans with nothing but belief. People who had started with less sand still became more. Every night, Lena sat beside the window, candle flickering in the dark. The city lights shimmered far away like another universe, and she whispered to herself, quietly, as if afraid the world might overhear, "One day I will live a bigger life than this." Each morning, Lena walked through the narrow lane, stepping over puddles and broken stones, watching the city rush past her. Buses honked, offices filled, people chased futures that seemed unreachable from where she stood. After school, she cleaned houses to support her family. Some people spoke to her without ever looking at her face. Some offered kindness. Others offered reminders of where she belonged. Once, a woman laughed and said, "Dreaming won't change your place in life." Lena nodded politely, but inside her mind a quieter voice answered, "Thinking small definitely won't." Some nights, rain slipped through the roof and landed on her books. She wiped the pages dry and kept reading anyway. When candles melted, she studied by moonlight. When books ended, she borrowed more. When exhaustion came, she rested just enough, then continued. Failure visited often, self-doubt knocked loudly, tiredness stayed longer than welcome. There were nights Lena stared at the ceiling, wondering if she was foolish for believing in a life she had never seen. When her hands ached from cleaning, when her eyes burned from reading, when the future felt impossibly far away. But she reminded herself, this pain is temporary. Staying here forever would hurt more. One afternoon, a notice appeared on the school wall, a scholarship examination, open to everyone. Only a handful would be selected. Most students laughed. "Only rich kids win these things," they said. "What's the point?" Lena took the form anyway. Her parents were afraid. Fear had protected them for years. "What if you fail?" her mother asked softly. Lena smiled, not with certainty, but with courage. "What if I don't try?" She studied while others slept. She practiced while others doubted. She wasn't the smartest. She wasn't the fastest, but she was focused. She wasn't thinking about passing an exam. She was thinking about changing her life. Weeks later, a letter arrived. Her hands trembled as she opened it. She had been selected. Full scholarship, education, living allowance. The room fell silent, as if the world itself had paused. That letter wasn't just paper, it was proof. Proof that effort speaks louder than origin, that belief travels farther than privilege. Her mother cried. Her father held the letter like it was made of gold. Lena closed her eyes and breathed. She had already lived this moment many times inside her mind. College was harder than she imagined. She felt small again. Out of place, different. But this time she didn't doubt herself. She remembered where she came from and where she was going. When others complained, she learned. When others feared, she prepared. She still cleaned houses on weekends, not out of shame, but pride. Years later, Lena stood on a stage. She was no longer the girl from the narrow lane. She was a respected professional, and in her speech she said, "I didn't change my life with money first. I changed it by changing the size of my thinking." She returned to her old neighborhood and opened a small learning center for girls who were told to dream less. Girls who needed to hear what Lena once whispered to herself, that your background does not decide your future. Thinking big is the first step to becoming big.